What's more important, the Jimmies and the Joes or the X's and the O's? I think if you look back at the last several years, the last 6 years specifically of the West Virginia Mountaineers football team, you will see that it's the Jimmies and the Joes. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode, which is brought to you by Kath Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner, attorneys at law, and Appalachia Digital. We're going to talk about how West Virginia's lack of NFL talent on the roster has hampered them over these last several years. So stick around and we'll have that conversation right after this word from one of those sponsors. Since 1931, the attorneys at Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident, are fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com. What is up, and welcome into this episode of Couz's Corner, your home for top shelf college sports news and analysis around the West Virginia Mountaineers and the Big 12. In this episode, we're focusing on the West Virginia Mountaineers and their lack of high-level Jimmies and Joes. Now, Bob Herschel, to his credit, did an article on this. I'll leave a link in the description box. It got the wheels turning, got me thinking. It actually got me to revisit an old video I did a couple of years ago comparing the first 3 years of Neal Brown's tenure with the other West Virginia coaches. And at that time, I was actually defending Neal Brown, saying, hey, Coach Brown didn't inherit a ton of NFL talent. Give him some time. He'll start putting guys in the league. Well, he did put a few guys in the league, but at not a high enough clip to lead to success for West Virginia. Now, I know what you're going to say, some of you anyway. You'll say, Couz, how many guys you put in the NFL? What's that have to do with winning at West Virginia? It has everything to do with it, because if you don't have enough NFL-level guys on your roster, and I'm talking about draftable guys, the best of the best typically. Yes, there are a few undrafted free agents who go in and end up being stars, but it's not the norm. If you don't have 2 to 3 guys on your roster year in, year out who are draftable in the NFL draft, with at least one of those probably being a high round draft pick, you're likely not going to win a ton of football games. And I think if you look at the last 6 years of Neal Brown's tenure, or the whole 6 years of Neal Brown's tenure, you'll see that. Neal Brown put 5 players in the NFL in his entire 5 years at West Virginia. Heck, 2 of those I'm not even sure I give him total credit for. Colton McKivitz got drafted in 2020. He was a Dana Holgorsen recruit that played under Neal Brown 1 year. Tony Fields was a grad transfer who came to West Virginia from Arizona. Played at West Virginia 1 year. He got drafted. There's 2 of them. Those happened in 2020 and 2021. In 2022, West Virginia broke a streak. I don't remember the years, but there were several years in a row West Virginia had a player drafted. I think it was one of the longest streaks in the country. It got broken in 22 because they had nobody drafted, right? Well, in 23, they got Dante Steele got drafted, but he was it. 2024, we saw Zach Frazier get drafted in the second round by the Pittsburgh Steelers, but that was it. 2025, we see Wyatt Milam get drafted in the third round by the Jacksonville Jaguars, but again, he was it. So Neal Brown put less than 1 player a year on average in the NFL draft. That's not going to get it done, folks. Now, you can blame it on player development. You can blame it on his recruiting. You can blame it on him not having enough NIL money. Whatever you want to blame it on. That's not really the point of this video. The point of the video is this. In order for the West Virginia Mountaineers to get back to their winning ways and to get back to competing for conference titles, and in this day and age, the CFP, they have got to get back to putting 2 to 3 guys a year in the NFL. When you look back through history, and I did the video I did on this a couple years ago, I went through these numbers, and I'll leave a link to that video at the end of this one in the corner. But Don Nehlen put 55 players in the NFL in his 21 seasons. It was an average of 2.75 guys a year got drafted under his watch, okay? Rich Rodriguez was averaging 2 a season. He put 14 players in the NFL under his watch in his 7 seasons at West Virginia, including a first-rounder. Don Nehlen had a couple first-rounders as well. Bill Stewart was only at West Virginia 3 years, but he put 8 players in the NFL draft in those 3 years, 2.5 a season, including a couple first-round picks. You had Dana Holgorsen was averaging 3 draft picks a season during his tenure at West Virginia, the highest of anybody. He put 20 players, ballpark, about 20 players in the NFL draft. Now, you'll see in the video I did before, I was using it based on how many years a player played for a specific coach on who I gave credit to. But for the sake of this video, I'm just saying who went in under your watch. On Neal Brown's watch, 5 guys got drafted. Still not enough. Still less than 1 a season. It means you only have 1 player on your roster that's good enough to get drafted in the NFL. And out of those, how many of those were skill guys? 0. You had 3 offensive linemen and a defensive lineman got drafted. Oh, and a linebacker. You had a D lineman, 3 O linemen, and a linebacker got drafted under Neal Brown at West Virginia. No quarterbacks, no wide receivers, no running backs. Now, you could say, yes, there have been a few undrafted free agents. That's not what I'm talking about in this video. Yes, Darius Stills went in as an undrafted free agent. Bryce Ford Wheaton went in as an undrafted free agent and is still playing in the league. I get that. But that's not the focus here. The focus is guys that got drafted because those are typically, like I said earlier, those are typically your best players. And if you don't have at least 2 to 3 of those a year, you're not going to win a ton of football games at West Virginia. Now, in Herzl's article, which he did a really good job on, he was comparing West Virginia's draftable players to teams like Ohio State, Penn State, Alabama, and others. I personally don't think that's a fair comparison. West Virginia has never been on the level of those programs as far as putting guys in the league and getting, 4- and 5-star recruits out of high school. Because believe it or not, all those things tie together. How many, blue chip recruits you get can tie into how many guys you put in the league. And guess what? It also correlates to how many games you win in most cases. Back to what I said in the opening. The Jimmies and the Joes are more important than the X's and the O's. So what's West Virginia do? What's Ren Baker do? They go out, they get Rich Rodriguez, a guy who was, like I said earlier, was averaging at least 2 guys a year in the league under his watch. And I'll be honest, had he stayed longer, I think that number would have went up because the recruiting would have gotten better at West Virginia, which means he would have put even more guys into the NFL had he stayed at West Virginia and not left for Michigan. So can West Virginia get back to putting at least 2 guys a year and some skill guys in the NFL? Now, to give Neal Brown credit, he did have 2 consensus All-Americans under his watch in Beanie Bishop and in Wyatt Milam. West Virginia's only had like 14 in their entire history. Neal Brown coached 2 of them. So I do, he does deserve some credit for that. But as far as draftable guys, heck, Beanie Bishop didn't even get drafted. He was an undrafted free agent himself, despite being a consensus All-American. So my point being, West Virginia just hasn't had enough talent for whatever reason, whether it's been lack of development, lack of recruiting. I think it's been a little bit of both. I don't think they've recruited. I think he's missed on a lot of guys. And I think the guys they've gotten in the program, I just don't think they developed them well enough. And when they did develop guys, they couldn't keep them, whether it be lack of NIL money, whatever it is as a program. You can blame Neal Brown. You can blame Shane Lyons. You can blame whoever you want to blame. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Ren Baker and Rich Rodriguez are trying to fix it. They're trying to get better players, which means they're going to win more games, which means they could get more guys drafted. It all ties together, folks. It all ties together. I want to hear your thoughts on this subject in the comment section. Do you think it was Neal Brown's lack of development, lack of recruiting, all the above? What do you think it was? Or do you think at the end of the day, it really wasn't Neal Brown's fault? He just happened to be the guy in charge of the program when they were struggling in other areas like NIL and other things. I personally don't think that's the case because we've seen teams like Iowa State succeed when they have similar resources as West Virginia, if not worse. So I think it's been, player development and recruiting has lacked under Neal Brown. I actually think Neal Brown is a really good coach when it comes to X's and O's, but I do not think he was good at evaluating and developing talent. And it might have been he was bad at hiring staff to do that for him. But either way, the buck stops with the head coach, and Neal Brown and his staff did not get the job done, and it shows with their lack of NFL draft picks. But I want to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to hit the like on this video if you enjoyed it, if you thought it was worthy. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Help me get to my next major goal of 10,000 subs. I'd like to get there by the end of the calendar year. Please support my website, my brand new website, WVSportsChat.com, where we cover West Virginia football, basketball, and baseball over there. A lot of good writers over there putting stuff up on the site. Also want to give a shout out to Jonathan Martin, who held the fort down for me while I was off on a vacation last week. Done a couple really good videos, as well as joined me for my live stream last night where we talked a lot about West Virginia's work in the transfer portal. I want to give a shout out to my VIP channel members of this episode. They are Kent Fultz, WVU Fan 13, Okie King, Todd Biela, and Jack's son Clark. Thank you all for your paid VIP membership. And if you want to be a paid VIP member, there's a join button below, or if there's not one there, it's over at my channel homepage. You can go check it out there. I appreciate you tuning into this episode. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf. Don't forget about the video I did a couple years ago highlighting the amount of NFL draft picks under each West Virginia coach, dating back to Don Nehlen. Hope you enjoy it. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf, and Q Country Roads.